Hi everybody, Steve Griffiths here, developer of the MTPredictor software program. In today's video I'd like to look at how yesterday, which was January the 29th, unfolded on the USE minis, but particularly looking at using the higher time frame on the higher time frame charts. This is where we really see the true power of the software. Particularly when we look at ignoring the STF, we have this as our color-coded indicator for newer traders, but as you can see it was sell at the bottom here and then black as the market rallied up, so you wouldn't have been taking this buy setup. But for the more experienced traders, what do? Well, we go out to the higher time frame chart. So let's go out to the 15-minute chart, and if we place a DP pivot on from the prior pivot sort of swing low, which was here, you can see that the market actually had gone down through that on the previous day. So let's go out to the slightly higher time frame. Let's go out to an hourly chart. Now on an hourly chart, I'll just take that DP off because that was irrelevant now. On an hourly chart, here's our last pivot high back here on, was it 22nd of January. And this was the last swing into the high, and this is what we tend to look at in MTPredictor. You'll have heard me said this many times before, so I'll zoom in a bit. So this is the last swing into that high. Therefore we come back to the last swing pivot low, which was here. We right mouse click, place our decision point on. Remember, these DP levels are on the chart in advance. I cannot stress this enough, and for you guys who see my videos regularly will know that we do this all the time. In other words, these are leading indicators. So in other words, before yesterday even opened, in fact for the last 2 or 3 weeks we've actually had, well, not 2 or 3 weeks, since just after 23rd of January, so up here somewhere, once this pivot high had completed. So for the last week, we'll say, this hourly DP support zone has been on your chart there, ready and waiting. So let's see what difference that would make when you come down to the shorter time frame charts for potential trades. Let's come back down to the 3-minute chart. Just drag this across a bit so it's a little bit smaller. So instantly, can you see the difference? Can you see how our there we go, how our DP buy setup here, there it is, actually fell at our hourly support zone. So can you all see that? So we had our hourly support zone there before the market even opened yesterday. Therefore we were looking for potential larger degree support in that area. So when the market made a second decline down here and made our DP buy setup, there it is. Can you see how now this would be a good one to take because it was coming at higher time frame support? So if we right mouse click, place the analysis on, you can see the market was 1 tick shy of the target at that level. It declined down, but definitely reached the DP level a bit later in the day there, just after lunch, for a nice 4-hour profit. So here you were picking a automatic setup off the very bar of the low of the day yesterday. So what a great place to be long on the ES, and it all was possible because we had this higher time frame support on our chart in advance. This is the true power of MTPredictor, having these levels there before the market even gets there. So I think that was an extremely good trade setup on the ES, but that wasn't the best of it. Let's go to the YM. Here we also have the same DP buy there. I'll go out to the 15-minute chart first. Just as with the ES, if I place the DP off there, you can see that the market actually went through that 50-minute support zone. I'll go out to the 60-minute chart, again just like I did with the ES. And this time we'll take the DP off the main pivot low there, because we'd gone below this DP. We'd gone below that. So we go back then to the main pivot low, which was right the way down here. This was the main pivot low. We place a DP off here, and as you can see that caught the low brilliantly. We can also place a DP off this main pivot low here as well. So if we do that, you can see they're basically in the same position. So you can see we had double DP support here on the hourly chart, so a very, very strong support zone. So I'll just make that a little bit smaller, just as I did with the ES, so we don't have it off the sides of our charts when we go down to the 3-minute chart. But can you see again how that level was on our chart well before the market even got down there? Let's go down to the 3-minute chart. So here we are, exactly the same trade on the on the ES, It may have had a first attempt. You can see here, if I zoom in a bit, we had a history triangle. So I don't know whether the market opened there, or that bar opened there, went down and took the low out first before rallying up. In other words, invalidated that first bar before triggering the trade, or whether it was triggered, went down and went up. You'd have to look at a short-term tick chart for that. But even if this was triggered here, this probably would have been an only -1 hour loss. Remember, we keep our losing trades small under control with our correct position sizing. But let's then redo it again on this next bar, and just like the ES, the market went up to its first target. In fact, the YM actually hit its first target quite clearly on this initial rally up, and it would have been a nice 4-hour profit, just like the ES. So exactly the same as the ES, a very nice rally there off a buy setup off the low of the day. But that wasn't the best trade of the day. I'm just going to take this analysis off. The best trade of the day was this TS1 a bit later. Now what we love about this is because this was a major low. It was a major low because it came in at higher time frame support. That's how we define it in MTPredictor. We had an initial rally up, we had an initial correction down. In Elliott wave terms, the initial rally is a wave 1, the initial correction is a wave 2, so therefore if we place the analysis on this particular trade setup, remember we only do this when we're coming off higher time frame, or what we call important support there, so it defines that as an important pivot. We're anticipating a wave 3 rally. So in other words, you're not looking to come out at the minimum wave C WPT target here, you're actually looking to go to the typical wave 3 WPT, which is up here. So in other words, this particular trade setup is what we call our Holy Grail trade setup, where we're looking for a strong wave 3 kind of rally. And as you can see, that's exactly what happened. Remember, largely your trend is up, so you would not be looking for these sell setups. Off this TS1 buy setup, you'd look to be going to the typical wave 3 WPT. We're also ignoring the STF colour, remember, because this is our larger degree support, therefore larger degree trend is up. So what an absolutely brilliant trade there. When you get up to this target here, you can either bank 6.4-hour profit and say thank you very much, or because the STF had gone strong, in other words gone through our strength band a bit earlier, look to run it with our ATR stop, which means you'd have held it into the close for an approximately a 9-hour profit, which is actually pretty much the high of the day. But let's take the slightly less amount, which was down here. So what would this have meant for the day? Well, we've already seen on the ES you'd have had a nice 4-hour profit off a DP buy setup that nailed the low of the day. If you're trading the YM, you may well have had a -1 hour loss to start with, but then another trade on the next bar that then also caught the low of the day for a 4-hour profit, and then another 6.4-hour profit there as well. So if I can take the maths very easily, let's just say 4-hour plus 6-hour minus 1 hour, taking the worst case scenario here. Again, I don't want to try and say you'll do the biggest profits, that take the worst case scenario. That would be plus 10-hour minus 1 plus 9-hour. So plus 9-hour profit yesterday on the YM was a pretty fantastic result. And this is just a great example of how trades unfold with MTPredictor, and a great example there of our Holy Grail trade setup. These are why MTPredictor was created in the first place over 14 years ago now, and is why it's one of my favourite trade setups. But this was all basically put into motion because we had our higher time frame support on our chart in advance. This is the whole key to it, and why MTPredictor is so powerful, because it has these leading indicators. And as you can see, that enabled you to basically get a automatic DP buy setup off what was pretty much the low of the day. Many amateur traders say it's not possible to buy or sell the low of the day. Well, here's living proof that it actually was yesterday, and we've done this many times in the past. So great trade setup up there, and then my favourite trade setup was this Holy Grail TS1 buy setup here. So a great, well, another great day for MTPredictor yesterday. We've had last week we had some tremendous days. Earlier in the week, this week, it has been a bit harder, particularly over the Fed day, but that's just the natural cyclical nature of trading. You have days where it's hard and you do very few trades, but then you have days like this where, quite frankly, it is an absolute joy to pick these trades with MTPredictor.